Hello guys, so welcome to today's series of how to become a contact center engineer. So in the first video, we learned how to create our connect instance, how to place test calls. We did a test call, we tested with chat also, and then we were able to have our instance up and running, claim the phone number. In today's video, we are going to now learn how to build actual contact flows, right? When you say contact flow, it's pretty much the experience, right? The call experience the customer or the caller or whoever is calling into your contact center is going to get, right? So you have the flexibility to customize that, to build that the way we want it. So one thing you have to know first is there is no one clear way of building a certain experience, right? So from this point going, I can be working in a certain way. As you are following the tutorial, you can make certain adjustments, certain ways you want it, just to explore with it. This gives you a lot of room for creativity, right? But the key thing is for us to understand certain features very well. So by the end, we will definitely have a working call center, and then I'll try my best to explain all the key things to you guys. So contact flow, as we said, defines your customer journey, right? It's it's kinda tells the person calling in that when you call, you are going to get to hear this message. When you call, this is what is going to happen, or that is what is going to happen. We have different kinds of contact flows, and then each of them has their responsibility or have what they do. So during our first video, during the test call, you guys realized that when I placed the call, it first played this message: welcome to TechPro Contact Center. And then it said something, this call may be recorded or something. So was a message coming in from a point where we call a customer queue. Again, we have different kinds of flows. The first flow you will be working with, or one of the key flows you'll be working with, is a flow we reference as an inbound flow. As the name suggests, inbound. So that is a flow that is accepting a call or a chat into it, right? So those are the inbound flows. We have another kind of flows called customer queue flow. When we say a customer queue flow, right, it is a flow that defines the experience a customer gets whilst they are in queue waiting for an agent. So you are a customer, or when you call a call center, you see, after selecting the menu options or after going through it and then you are waiting for a queue, certain call centers will rather play music to you, others will play their promotional messages to you and all that. All those things happens in something we call a customer queue flow. The next type of flows you will see is the hold flows, right? Either a customer hold flow or an agent hold flow. An agent and customer hold flows pretty much defines the experience the customer or agent will have when they are on hold. So that's pretty much it. And then we have certain flows called whisper flows. Whisper flows defines what you hear upon an agent answering the call. So there are certain call centers, the moment an agent answers a call, there is a message they will play. It will whisper to you. There is the agent whisper flow, which will whisper to the agents. So Amazon Connect in itself have all these flows by default. So the thing is, if you build your contact flow and then you don't build your own, these are flows mostly reference and supporting flows. If you don't define these supporting flows, right, your customer queue flow, your whisper flows and all that, Connect in itself have default flows that works behind the scenes for you. So it's best practice that you build your own customer flows and then you can customize it how you very want it. So you can take some of these default ones to customize it. But the key point is understanding these ones. The next group of flows is the transfer to agent flow and transfer to queue flows. We have things we call quick connects. That allows agents to transfer to agents. That allows you to from one queue to the other and all that. So you're able to define the experience that happens in that flow also. So wherever there is a journey, you one way or the other configuring it in a particular or a specific type of flow. So in this video, we are going to spend so much time on how to build a flow, and then we will just go through certain key flow attributes. So now I'm just going to click on this to start with an inbound flow. So I'm going to click on create flow. Yeah, this is going to be for my contact center. So I'm going to call it a TechPro. Let me do main line. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. So on this page, there are key things you have to know. The first thing is these two buttons, is to save and then publish. Each time you build a flow, ensure you do these two things. You save the flow, then you publish it. There are on this end called the block library. So the way we define our experience is through these blocks, right? So say you want to play a message, you look for the corresponding block that you can use to define that. If you want to say set an attribute, set a variable, set a number, store something, all these things are being done using the block. So that is pretty much it with Amazon Connect. So you're first going to start. So I'm just going to walk you through some of the very important blocks that you are supposed to know. And as I said, you can go ahead and then play with the rest as you see or as you deem fit. The first one I'm going to select is going to be a set login. This is very important. In fact, you will need this block. The reason why we use this set login block is this. It allows us to log whatever is happening in our call center experience, right? So if I have a call center and then I want to be able to have logs, right? As an engineer, if there are issues, you need to go through the logs to be able to troubleshoot it. So for you to have logs of that, your call flow, your contact center experience, you have to set this block called set login. So that's the first block you are going to be working with. There are other set blocks too that you can do. So you can just easily search for them in here. Something like set voice. Set voice pretty much allows you to define the voice. So Amazon Connect has multiple voice that you can work with. Yeah. So all these blocks, if they are needed and then you don't set them, Connect has its own default stuff that it will use. But they exist. So you can just go through them to see the various blocks and then look at the documentation to see what exactly they do. But in this case, for our first quick test, I'm just going to do this. The next group of blocks, that is very important that I want you guys to notice. One block that we call the play prompt. We have another block called get customer inputs. I'm going to quickly explain these three blocks. And then we have another one called store customer inputs. These three blocks are very identical, but they have slightly different purposes. So these are blocks that you'll be using a lot. The first one, play prompts. Play prompt blocks are used when you want to play a certain message to a customer without expecting any form of input from them. So you call into a call center and you're telling, hello, welcome to my call center. This is just a message. I don't want you to do anything, right? So with a message like that, I can have it in a play prompt. And then there is another one called get customer input block. With a get customer input block, what you do is if you want to solicit a certain decision, right, from the customer, you are getting the customer's input. So when you call a call center and they say for English, press 1, for French, press 2, right? They are expecting the customer to come in with a certain info. They are expecting the customer to come in with a certain info. So that is being done using the get customer input block. And then last one is store customer input. The store customer input is similar to get customer input, but with that, what you are doing is we are storing whatever input the customer enters on their phone. Please, let's get the difference very well. The play prompt just plays it and then that is it. Get customer input can play the prompt and then will expect a certain decision or a certain choice from the customer. The store customer input is used to store the inputs that the customer is entering. So that is these three blocks. One thing you have to understand is when you have every block, the configuration of the block is in the block itself. So for example, if I take the play prompt, this is it. Now, there are lots of settings that I could use. Remember, on the first video, I mentioned something that you can store your prompts, right? Audio recordings and all that in this prompt section. So if I have, say, a recorded message, a recorded music, an audio, something, and then I want to play it, one of the ways I can do that is by having it in my connect instance as a prompt. So in this case, you have all these prompts. These are music. Yeah, you get it. So there are lots of prompts. If you have your own, say, recorded messages and all, you can have and then add them as prompts in here. It's very simple. Just click add prompts. You choose your audio file, you give it a name, and that is it. You make use of that. Good. Now back to our contact flow again. So if I have something like that that I want to use, I can select it. But Connect allows you to do a text to speech. So what you do is you input your text and Connect in itself will read it out for you. That is one thing that you'll be working with often. With a text to speech, there are two ways. It's either you type your plain text, right? So, for example, in this tutorial for my call center, this is going to be, hello, welcome. So this is going to be our message. TechPro contact services. We are happy. So this is my welcome message. This is just a message that I'm playing to them. There are two ways I can type this, either normal text or SSML. SSML allows us to add certain tags, breaks, and pauses to it. So there are two versions. Either you go to your text to speech or SSML stuff. If you are interested in the SSML, just do a normal Google search. You see how to add the tags, how to make your prompt sound better, and then you configure that. But for now, this tutorial, I'm going to use just simple plain text to speech so that we can easily make progress. So with text, then I confirm. So this is my play prompt. Now, say I want to give them the option to select the language for which they want. The same, look at the settings are very simple, similar. All the prompt settings, right? So if I have a recorded audio, I can select it. If I want to type it, in this case, I'm going to type it. So I'm going to do for English, press 1. For French, let me do press 2. For English, press 1. For French, press 2. And now I'm going to click on add conditions. So this is where I'm going to define my numbers. So if the person press 1, go here, press 2, come here. Confirm. So now I'm just going to connect this to this. Connect this to this. My error. Yeah, I can choose to handle my error, but in this case, I'm just going to play it, connect it to the next. So see the next thing. What is saying is this. You call in, I play this message, and I'm doing, if you want English, press 1. If you want Spanish, French, press 2. So as I said, a contact flow defines the experience. So if the person presses 1 for English, what do I want to do? If the person presses 2 for English, what do I want to do? Now, if they presses this for English, let me introduce you to multiple blocks. As I said, Connect is all about how you are willing to customize your experience. There are blocks like transfer to flow, where people would rather transfer, if the person selects English, they would rather transfer them to a flow. That is another inbound flow they've built for their English experience, or transfer them to another flow for their Spanish experience. However you want to configure it, that is fine. Or someone can choose to say, oh, my call center is very simple, depending on what they want, so let me just have it in here. So in my case, just for this tutorial, I'm just going to make it very simple. What I'm going to do is to do a play prompt, right? And then here, I'm going to do great you selected English. There's no call center experience, but I just want you guys to see how the block. You selected English, and I will proceed. So my call center, I just want you guys to understand the blocks. Now, for my Spanish route, so if the person presses 2, so you selected French, I can have it in there and then make progress. So this is something you have to clearly understand. But remember, I said something initially. Connect is your own customization. So if I do this, coming in, but I see initially I said something about voice, right? Certain voice. If I have multiple language and then I don't define the voice, if I'm to go on with this call center, although the person is pressing 2 for English, but if this was supposed to be in French, Connect will be reading the French message as English. That is why we make use of the set voice. So in the set voice, you are able to define the language, right? So that you can at least choose a voice that speaks the language very, very well. So in our use case, I'm just going to proceed to do that if the person presses 2 for French, let me just select a language. Let me set a voice, right, to a language that makes this. Again, remember I said Connect is all about customizations. Remember I said Connect is all about customizations. So that I just don't waste time. I want you guys to explore. If you have more questions, just play with it and then drop a comment or something, or feel free to reach out to me and I'll do what to respond to you. I'm going to just select Amazon. So this say French. So let me look for French. So I'm going to select the French for French. And then the voice, I'm going to use Celine and then confirm. Then I'll do this. So you see why I said there are certain call centers, they have very huge call flows, that's contact flows, like the customer experience, there are a lot of menu options and all that. That is why having blocks like this are very important, right? You see, the transfer to flow block. So instead of having my French experience in this flow, I will do something. I will create another flow for just the Spanish so that you guys will see how the transfer to flow block 2 works. Yeah, but I can choose to define everything in this particular flow. As I said, your own customization. So I come in this and then I'll do this. So now this is it for my call line. Because I didn't select any language, by default it will come in here and then it will still use the voice as in English. So that's fine. So I won't set that. What else should I? Now, someone will ask, so if it times out and goes to default, depending on what you want to do, there is this thing called loop, right? So I can choose to loop that if it times out or if it's default, the person doesn't do anything, or if it's errors out, I want to loop 3 times to this message. After that, I want to transfer them to the English route. So this is one experience that I can configure. So there are lots of things that you can do in here. That's just play with it and then you clearly have a proper understanding of all these blocks. The next important block I want to mention and then we'll continue on is going to be something we call set contact attributes. So set contact attributes is this. It's pretty much a block that allows you to store values in your core flow. This block is in fact one of the most important blocks you ever see in this whole thing. Especially when you are doing customizations, when you want to store stuff, right? It gives you the room to do that. So in this my core flow, now for my French route, I'm going to leave it just like this for now and then focus on the English and then we'll fall back again to French. So I play this, great. You selected English. And then here, I want the customer to enter their PIN. So I'm going to play another message to them. So here, I'm just come to prompt, type in here. Please enter your 3, let me do 4 obligate extensions. So this can be any message. The point is I'm soliciting for a user input from the customer. There are lots of things that I can set in here. The input settings, if I want them to terminate and all that, just keep on playing with it. That's the best way you can understand, connect, and then build your contact flows. I'll just select that. And now I'll click it in here. So with the set contact attribute block, as I said, it allows you to store key pair values, store values. Alright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to store a value. And in order to do that, I will just click on add an attribute. There are ways you can do it. It's either I store it as part of the whole contact journey. Remember, our call center can go through multiple flows. Do you get me? Or it can store the values in just this flow. For now, I'm going to leave it this way. And then I'm going to store it as an attribute. There are ways you can store these attributes. In this case, I'm going to give it as a user-defined attribute. So I'm going to just store it the way I want it. I'm going to call it extension, right? And then the value, there are ways I can pass these values. If I have a manual value that I want to pass, I can do that. But in my case, I want to get the value that the customer entered in the store customer input block. So I'm going to do set dynamically. And then I'll come to system. And then I'll look for store customer input. So what this means is whatever value it's entered here, it will be stored in here. So this is more like a variable in programming, right? So I've gotten the value and then I'm storing it here so that I'll be able to subsequently use it at different parts of my contact flows. So this is the set contact attribute block. The next two blocks I'm going to talk about is something we call the set working queue. So as I said during the part one, a queue is pretty much the waiting area where the customer is as they wait to be connected to an agent. So if I have my call center and then I want my people to be able to reach for an agent, in Amazon Connect, we have to define a queue like a waiting area. And after defining the queue, we have to then transfer the caller to that queue. Transfer the caller to that queue. In the next video, we are going to learn how to create queues, routing profiles, how the call comes in and all that. So please kindly do also like, subscribe. It's really, really help and then promotes the work we do on this channel. Then I'll just bring a disconnect. So this is my simple contact flow experience. So just a quick walkthrough. I'll just select one default queue that comes by default. So I'll call a basic queue. As I said, this is just a waiting area. I'll just show you guys how to create your own queues and how to make your own modifications as we proceed with our call center experience. Now, so see, again, the blocks, I'm playing message, I'm getting the form of input, playing a message, storing whatever they are entering. If I don't need a block, I won't bring it. I'm storing the value here, playing this thing, and then transferring them to queue. Remember I said something during the beginning of this whole thing that if you have a flow and then you don't define the customer queue flows and all those experience, what will happen is this. Connect in itself will use the default ones, right, to work behind the scenes. So let me just open flows in another tab and then show you something. So you see now, I've not defined any customer queue flow and all that. So if, for example, if I place a test code now, it's going to use this default customer queue flow. This default customer queue flow. What is in here? Thank you for calling. Your call is important to us. And it will be answered in the order it was received. So this is the message that it will play. And then it will play this prompt music and then it will go. So this is a customer queue flow. Yeah. Just to save time, I'm not going to just test before again. But if I don't define it in this flow, it's going to use that flow. That is pretty much how Connect works. But if I want to define my own customer queue flow experience, right, at the very beginning, whatever flow you want to define, you can just search for it here. So set customer queue flow. And then I can bring it in there, right? I can bring it in here, and then I'll select the flow. I'm here to build a new customer queue flow. So for now, let me just select this one. And then I just want you guys to see how the transfer to floating to work. So for the Spanish, I'm not going to build it in this flow. For the Spanish, I'm not going to build it in this flow. For the Spanish, I'm going to have it in here. Oops, sorry. I still need a voice. No, you let me set the voice in the Spanish flow itself to keep things neat. All right. So I'm going to quickly build two flows and then show you guys how to bring that in. And then we will proceed to test this video. And then we can see the next thing. So the next thing is probably to disconnect. So this is a simple call flow experience. Just trying to explain the blocks. But I say the best way is for you to play with the blocks yourself. And then you understand it. Let me just select any random flow for now. My old flow as my Spanish flow. Yes, you can select any flow so that you'll be able to save and publish it. If you don't, Connect won't save it. So let me publish my flow. So this is another call flow. And then my English route is clear to go. Now let me quickly come to this side, right? Phone numbers. In the last flow, we claimed the phone number. So I'm just going to associate the new flow with the phone number we claimed. So I'm going to select my new flow. It's the TechPro mainline. Now I click on save. That will take some couple of seconds. Now I'm going to proceed to call that line. I'm going to call that line with my phone.
Hello, welcome to TechPro Contact Services. We are happy to have you here.
See, it's
For
playing my
English,
first
press
message.
1. For French, press 2.
I'm going to press 1.
Greet you selected English and I will proceed. Please enter 4 digits extensions. Thank you for calling. Your call is very important to us and will be answered in the order it was received.
So you see now, the experience we got when I called the call center was this. Right? I selected one for English and then it went ahead and played this. Because the customer queue flow, I'm using the default customer queue flow. You realize that the experience we got was what I showed in the default customer queue flow. So it played this message and it went ahead to skip it. So I'm just going to quickly create another flow, right? So I'm going to create our own customer queue flow. The customer queue flow is similar to all the flows pretty much are the same thing. Just that you have to know the flow type and then you go. So this is going to be our customer queue flow. Here for now, I can choose to add set login or because I'm calling it in a flow that already has it. I can choose to ignore it. So let me just do play prompts. Here let me do a looping prompt so that a looping prompt allows the prompts to loop over and over and over again. So just play with these blocks and then yeah, there are so much blocks and I can't walk us through all of them. So I'll just show some few. So here the type, I'm going to select text to speech and I'll say this is my own customer queue flow. Confirm. And then I'll do something instead of disconnecting, I'll do end flow and resume flow. So if the looping prompt plays, just end and resume, just end and resume. So let me do a tutorial. We will come back again into this flow to make some new and fancy stuff in your tutorial. Or let me do TechPro customer queue. So this is my customer queue flow. Let me save and publish. Good. So once I save and publish it, if I come into my main flow, I can select that. You see TechPro now, we see that here. Confirm. Now let me quickly create another flow for a Spanish route. So if I want to create a flow for any language, if I don't want to build it in there, it's still the same route, guys. Just now that is going to be an inbound flow, right? So let me do TechPro. Let me do dash French. So here I'm going to set my set voice. Yeah, I can choose to add my set login to in here. Yep, if I want to set login. And then yeah, personally it's a practice. I love to add my set login so that I'm able to test individual flows themselves. When you have a huge call center, right? Yeah, I like to break my stuff down and then I'm able to debug it from certain points. There are lots of fancy ways that you can adapt. I just don't want to confuse anyone now. So let me just bring this in here. And my voice for this is going to be French. My French, I want France. And then yeah, let me go back for my Celine. Confirm. And then I just want to duplicate the same experience I have in here. One beautiful thing is I can copy whatever blocks I have in here. So I'm just going to copy the same experience for my English. There is a way that you can use this attribute to make all these things dynamic. The more you play with this again, you adapt your own ways or simple ways of doing most of these things. Right, but for now, I just want you guys to see how simple it is to configure your experience. The more you work with this, you realize that, in fact, you can handle multiple things in one flow. It will shock you guys. All right, so let me just come in here, and then let me do, um, let me do a normal translate English to French. Guys, I can't speak French, so I can only translate, hopefully. Yeah. So let me just copy this from Google and then come to my flow. So this is my French flow. So as you guys can see, the French flow is pretty much the same as my English flow. This is a very simple call center for this tutorial, so nothing fancy. I want you guys to just understand this, and then yeah, we will wrap up very soon. And then in tomorrow's or in the subsequent lectures, we are going to look at how to configure all these queues and all those things. So this is how you pretty much play with blocks and all. So let me just publish this flow to you. Now that I've published it, let me come in here. So first, I've already selected my customer queue flow. So let me select this. There are so much that we can do in our customer queue flow. If you want to configure callbacks, if you want to do this, I have certain tutorials too on my channel. Please do also subscribe. You can watch them. There are a lot of end-to-end massive connect projects that has a lot of things in there. Just look at them and then play. Since this is just a beginner class, there is so much, but there's so little that I can see and talk about. So this is pretty much a working call flow now. Let me publish again, be sure. And I'm going to test call again. Then we will pay attention to whatever massive we hear in our customer queue flow. Let me come to my customer queue flow and make some slight change. So now this is my message that I'm playing. We can configure callbacks. We can do a whole range of stuff. If you have promotional messages, as I said, this is a flow these flows you can customize it. If I want to play a message one, play music, play this, whatever I want to do, this gives me room to do it. If I want to add prompts, I can add. Here, let me select this jazz music. Yeah, so that is pretty much it's working with the contact flows. The key thing is understanding when to use which type of contact flows, right? Whether it's a customer queue, a whisper flow, and all that. The rest is your customization. So I'm going to just call and then test this French route. So look at what we have.
Hello, welcome to TechPro Contact Services. We are happy to have you here. For English, press 1. For French, press 2.
I'm going to select French. 2.
Parfait, vous avez choisi l'anglais. Je vais donc continuer. Veuillez terminer vos extensions à 4 chiffres. This is my own customer flow.
Okay. Alright. So you see, look at my customer queue flow. Because I'm playing this message in English. So you see there during when it goes to this point, it's tried reading this thing with a French voice. That's why certain voice is very important. So if I want to check inside my flow, I can set attributes, right? And then I can check those attributes that if the call goes through this route, it is Spanish. If it goes here, all these things using these attributes. And then, yeah, then let me mention this block too, so that will tie everything into piece. So you see, I can set the attributes and then I can make decisions using those attributes. So I'm going to quickly set attributes here. And then I'll show you guys the last block and then we can wrap up this section. Yeah, in tomorrow's section, we are going to talk more about, or in the next video section, we are going to talk more about how we can customize the queues, the routing profiles. The rest is all. So just work on the fancy stuff that wherever you see. So I'm going to do here, set an attribute and call it a user-defined attribute, right? Say language. I'm going to make it English. So the person comes to the English route. I'm setting this attribute. Remember, I said the attribute is more like a variable that you can make use of. Now when they select you, I want to make the language French. Before I transfer to the French. So just to show you one last block, why certain attributes are important. In this flow, I'm going to check a condition. So I can do this check contact attributes, right? So I can check the attribute that I set, or I can check for certain conditions. So one of the things I can do is to check an attribute. So here I'll just do user define and then pass my key. Well, I was setting the attribute and I'll add a condition if it equals. So in this case, let me do if it equals French. So this is what I'm going to do. Just duplicate this. So if it equals French, play this message. Else, if no match is found, then by default it's English. So I just don't want to check that English condition specifically. So let me just convert this to French. So you see, so this is why certain contact attributes are important. So now when I call again and then I select English, it will come here. Or if I select French, it will play the French customer queue message. So these are some of the simple tweaks that we can see. So this last test call and then we can answer our call.
Hello, welcome to TechPro Contact Services. We are happy to have you here. For English, press 1. For French, press 2.
Parfait, vous avez choisi l'anglais. Je vais donc continuer. Veuillez terminer vos extensions à 4 chiffres. Voici le flux de ma propre file d'attente client. Basique.
Hello. This is Uncle. So this is a very simple how ways you can play with Amazon Connect and then do this. In the next video, we are going to learn how to configure queues, routing profiles, and all the tiny pieces that comes into our call center. And then we can proceed to improve our contact flows to make more decisions. Thank you so much for watching. Please do well to like, share, drop a comment if you have any questions, and we really appreciate it on our end. Thank you so much. See you in the next video. Bye.